Hello.
Good evening.
Good evening. It is a good evening.
It's a lovely evening.
Because I have a glass of wine.
Mine's running a bit empty.
Yes, well, that's probably not such a good evening then from the broadcast point of view, because I've had just a little sip. We thought we'd just do a quick half hour to talk a little bit about the new book that we have written, Megs and I. And also to talk a bit about the Back to Nature, a bit about Self-Isolating Bird Club, keeping people up to date with our thoughts and plans for that. But before we get started, of course, I've said it's a good evening. There are some reasons why it's a good evening. There's been an election this week, which I think, well, at least I hope, has gone in the right direction when it comes to improving global environmental care, but of course we'll have to see about that.
Wait and see what happens. But yeah, it's been a funny old month, hasn't it? Of course, England's now gone into lockdown. There's new restrictions in place across the UK, and the nights are coming in. It's getting darker. It's getting colder.
Yeah.
And we need a bit of wildlife, don't we? And of course, Autumn Watch has just finished up on Friday. So
yeah, we hope that Autumn Watch, lifted a few spirits. Basically, the team worked in really, really hard. It's difficult at the moment, obviously, with the COVID restrictions, and technically running an operation like that with 4 different sites, 2 of them sending live pictures. I mean, hats off to a lot of people who work really, really hard behind the scenes to handle the technical side of that. I mean, ours is an easy job, really. We just have to stand there and be enthusiastic about the wildlife, which comes very easily. But, actually getting that stuff on air, actually beaming it into people's homes is a feat of some magnitude. Massive, yes. Very, very talented people involved. So, yes, hats off to the technical team at Autumn Watch.
Yeah.
We sing their praises all the time, but I think everyone ought to acknowledge that. But as Meg says, we've gone into lockdown again now. People back on the furlough scheme. It's winter. We need to do what we did in the spring, really. It's free. It's outside. It's in your garden if you're lucky enough to have one. It's in your local green space. It's at your local nature reserve. It's when you're taking your daily exercise. It's wildlife and nature. And it's enormously beneficial to our physical and mental health. And we saw that in spring, didn't we? I mean, so many people, tens of thousands of posts on social media. Emma Mitchell, really coming to the fore with her fantastic book, Wild Remedy, doing things for us.
It was a community of people. Everyone kind of got inspired by one another, and despite being disconnected, we suddenly connected. And that was the most amazing thing about it, was that people just united on a front because they were exploring the world on their doorsteps. And their doorsteps, all of a sudden, whilst that are technically quite small, they got a lot bigger because we were appreciating what was on them. So we wanted to come back and just say hi.
Yeah.
Hope you're doing all right. There's lots of people saying hello. Clive from Ventnor, Carol in Glasgow, Louise from Sheffield, Una in Holland, Chris from Dumfries, Roy from Norfolk, and Nikki, whose birthday is on the 12th. Happy birthday, Nikki.
Happy birthday.
Hello, everyone.
And just one thing. I know that it's been a bit damp today down here, raining, but you've got a raincoat, got wellies. I obviously took the Sid and Nancy out for a stroll through the woods, and it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Colours looked really intense in the misty rain. It smelled sensational. I didn't see anything of great interest, to be quite honest with you, today. I thought I saw a woodcock flying away, but
that's nice.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. No, I misidentified something. I won't say what it was. It was a missel thrush. No, it was a missel thrush.
Was it a pigeon?
But I mean, I saw it just going between the trees, and I hoped it was a woodcock. But the fact is that just get out there.
Yeah,
just get out there.
It's really amazing. Just
put your coat
around
on,
about.
Get your wellies on, even if it's a bit drizzly. Get out there, because the wild world continues, of course.
But many of you have been getting out there and exploring it, and have gotten back to nature. Now, so of course, Chris and I have written this book. I'm sure if you like our social media pages, you will have seen it. This parcel arrived, and we've actually seen it as a book for the first time a couple of days ago, which was really exciting. But there also was a little bit of a challenge, and I think you can still join in on this if you'd like to, and post your photos using #BackToNature, because we'd like to know over the course of lockdown and autumn and going into winter how you're connecting with that nature. So share a video, share a photograph or a story or something on social media using #BackToNature, and then we're getting all of these stories in, and so many have come in already, and we wanted to share just a couple of them with you.
Yeah, there is a bit of a competition running as well, because we will be picking some winners. It's going to be a possible choice, of course. It's absolutely
really
impossible. There's so
difficult.
many. I was
Really
looking through
difficult.
in the bath a moment ago, as you do, you know, sit in the bath, flick through your phone, looking at social media. Anyway, that's what I did.
Nobody wants to know that, Chris.
Do you not want to know that?
No, I don't know. It's bath, flicking through your no.
Okay. Anyway, so but there's yes, it's going to be very difficult to choose winners, but they get a free copy of the book.
Yes.
Thus saving yourself
a signed copy.
Yes, signed copy.
Yeah.
Thus saving yourself £20 of the Queen's currency. Yes, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, look, we've got a few images that we've pulled out just at random. These aren't the winners. We stress. These are just some that we saw that we thought we'd pull out because they reflect a range of ways that people are interacting with their environment. And the first one is this one. This is the Mid Sussex Community Garden. And here they are actively reinstating a community garden with biodiversity and nature in mind. And at the heart of it is this orchard. Wildflower planting as well. They're doing a wildlife pond full of studies. They're looking at all of the wildlife that comes there. And they're completely off grid and they're not using anything synthetic at all. And they're all social distancing as well, which is great. Everyone's behaving themselves. But isn't it great? Those little apple trees, you know, you stick a little apple tree in and within a couple of years it's fruiting. And we planted one. Charlotte had a rabbit that unfortunately died. So to mark that, we planted an apple tree in the garden. And within about 3 or 4 years, it was, you know, covered in blossom, loads of bees, and now loads of fruit. And of course, we, you know, leave the fruit and it falls onto the ground and then the thrushes eat it in the wintertime.
Yeah, it's a great resource, isn't it? It's fantastic. And we love seeing those community projects. And there's so many of them actually popping up.
In fact, there's a whole
really
section in the book about community conservation, actually, how to make it work, because you know, that project, obviously the Mid Sussex Community Garden looks like it's thriving to me. But in order to maximise the efficacy of community level conservation, it does require some sort of thought and planning. Yeah. It doesn't always go according to plan. But and very sadly, do you know what one thing? Well, no, it's just one thing I complain about in the book is that, you know, it's communities find it very hard to get funding. Yeah. You know, so if there are big projects run by NGOs and those sorts of things, they're likely to get funding. But, you know, obviously in the UK, we're very lucky we've got Heritage Lottery Fund, which is good at giving money. So there are sources of funding there, and there are all sorts of charities where you can appeal for a bequest. But it's quite hard for community conservation groups to get that sort of funding.
It is, but it also isn't, I'd say, because there's also, you know, these initiatives where you can rewild your gardens and get together as a street. And I know there's an initiative called Wilder from the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust, and they've turned areas of, again, it's in the book, but they've turned streets in Portsmouth, got people with like-minded thoughts and processes, and they got them all together along a street. They built this kind of compost shed where they could share plants together. They've created it and linked them all up with Hedgehog Highway.
Sounds great.
They've made a Wilder street only using their gardens, because we need to make the most of our gardens, because it is the space that we've had. If you don't have a garden, then your balcony or your windowsill, you don't necessarily need to purchase a lot of land, because collectively we've got a lot of land. Yep. It's just how we use it.
Hold on a minute. This is what's in the book.
Yeah, I know, sorry.
Everyone was in the book. Let's move on to the next picture. What have we got next here? We've got Andrew Hoyton's photograph here. And this is good because he says that he followed one of Andy Rouse's tutorials.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
It's a very good
Andy
picture.
Rouse was on our Sapphire Slating Bird Club broadcast, and he showed us some fantastic photos when he was out photographing kingfishers and lots of other birds when he was in lockdown. And it's fantastic that people have been watching this and applying those processes to their own photos. Wild angle view, isn't it? Andy's tutorials, wild angle view. And check out Andy Rouse on social media, Wild Man Rouse. He does some brilliant tutorials. And Andrew Houghton, because I like this photo.
It's very good, isn't it? Leaf cutting bee there. Look,
exactly. I like a bit of behaviour.
Carrying that into that. Well, it looks like it's a special bee box, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I'd say it was a bee box put up for that very purpose. Excellent stuff. Next up, Steve Carruthers. Steve Carruthers has had a lot of nature since he was very, very small, but the lockdown gave him the first opportunity to get out every day to photograph the wildlife that was around his spot. He photographed the mandarin duck.
I love a mandarin.
Do you?
I really love a mandarin. Don't tell me you don't love a mandarin. No, that's
glitzy.
Rubbish. They're great. I thought that'd be right up your street. It looks a bit retro. It's almost like some of your retro T-shirts that you insist on wearing. It's kind of got that pattern on it.
Yeah, I like the sail. You know, that big orange feather.
Look at its neck, though.
Yeah.
Oh, I love the texture on it. I think
it's a bit Versace for me, if I'm honest with you.
I don't mind it.
Cheers.
Versace.
Bit Missoni, Versace. See, what I'm trying to say to you is a little bit overdressed, really, to be quite honest with you. What would you rather have? A Drake Smew, okay? A Drake Smew, just black and white, you know, or a long-tailed duck, bit of chocolate.
Oh, I do like a long-tailed duck.
Or the Mandarin.
Do you know what? I actually quite like a mallard.
Right, okay. Anyway, Steve,
anyway, but Mandarin's
great photo there on the green water. Really, really good. Top work.
This next one is from Lucy Foxton Burt on Facebook. She says, my 9-year-old daughter was letting the dogs out and found this lovely little goldcrest sat by our back door. It sat for a while in her hands and she was able to stroke it. We thought it was injured at first, but he stood up, pooped on her hand and flew off, and it was one of the best animal experiences we've ever had.
I bet she'll never forget it.
No, it's those kinds of occurrences and experiences that just connect you, don't they?
Look at that.
Beautiful.
Look at that. I just love, look at the focus, the intensity of her focus on that little bird in the hand.
It's tiny, isn't it? She's trying to be so delicate.
Worth so many in the bush.
Oh.
Come on. That is beautiful. I've never held a gold crest like that either.
It's an amazing thing, isn't it? I don't think
it must have stunned itself, I guess.
Yeah.
And then very fortunately, came around and flew off. Fantastic.
Beautiful,
I've got something on my glasses. I'm struggling here.
Should I read? I'll read.
You can, because I've got some sort of scuzna.
Oh, no, not scuzz. It's your worst nightmare.
I've got scuzna.
And the next one is from Paul Gambrill on Facebook. He says, I've been taking my kids fungi hunting in the local woods, taking photos of them, not picking them, which is also really important because they are very important for the ecosystems, as we spoke about on March.
Hey, what about that? Can we just brag a minute?
Oh.
What about we put all those lights on and we showed...
it was good,
and we showed all of the HiFi, the mycorrhizal network. That was...
It was really cool.
I thought
all
that. Chris Pitt was our producer on site.
Yeah.
And he did a brilliant job with those lights.
Yeah.
Absolutely
He made it all happen.
Do you know how many there were?
It was a lot.
3,000.
He painted 3,000 lights to get all those colours.
3,000.
He did a lot of work for that. It was brilliant, though.
That's fantastic. What people pay their licence fees for.
It's proper the series, I'd say.
I'd say it's proper the series. Anyway, should we get back? Let's get back to this one.
Anyway, back to Paul Gambrill.
There it is.
He had no idea that it could be so interesting. Some of them are stunning. Our favourite part was this little purple one.
Yeah.
Do you know what that is?
I think it's an amethyst deceiver, and there are other species. Which are relatively similar, but the crooked stem that's typical of those amethyst deceivers. I don't want to start talking about eating mushrooms because we don't want people to rush out and start doing that. Really. But whatever. Sometimes you can. I don't know if you've ever done this, but you can if there were an abundant species, you can collect just one very gently, cut it off just beneath the cap, and then what you do is you put the cap on a piece of coloured paper. And then you put a glass over it and you leave it overnight.
Yeah.
And all the spores that drop out of the gills, making a pattern called a spore print in the shape of the gills underneath. And then what you do is you get some hairspray very, very gently, and you spray from a distance the spores until you fix them, basically.
Right.
And then you get a spore print of it. And the thing about the amethyst deceiver, that little purple mushroom, they're quite common actually in woodland, conifer, broadleaf, all sorts of places, is that the spores are white. And you get this beautiful little white spore print. Stunning. Absolutely.
I'm just
stunning.
amazed that you can see a photograph of a mushroom and you just know immediately what it is and the spore print and everything else.
Well, no, I did it when I was younger. I did a spore print of amethyst deceiver, and I used to have all my spore prints, but we moved to a house and there was a leak in the garage, and a lot of my paper materials were lost, including spore prints and my mouse skins. I had
mouse skins.
Yeah,
I had. You have mouse skin?
Well, there was I had mouse and vole and weasel and stoat.
I want to know where you got them from.
Probably not.
Right.
Roadkill.
Okay.
But I lost all of them actually. So let's move on.
Yes. So this is from Rog Hartley on Facebook. My favourite little fox cub at the in the start of lockdown. It kept me sane.
Oh, look at that.
So cute.
Nothing apart from a poodle beats a fox cub.
Oh, do you know what? Would you use the C word? I feel like that was just about to come out of your mouth then.
Wow.
Would you?
No,
Go on. You want
look
to.
at the eyes.
Go on. What is it, Chris? Is
it peeping?
Is it cute? What is it?
I don't think fox cubs are particularly cute.
Oh,
actually.
what do you mean they're not cute? Look at those
but
ears.
They're beautiful. They're absolutely stunning.
If that's not cute, I don't know what is.
Oh, absolutely.
But what an amazing
stunning.
thing, though. It's great, isn't it, in lockdown to be able to connect with this type of wildlife on our doorstep, because we get to know them as characters and as individuals, and we gain such a deep
nose in the mouth. Look at the little nose in the mouth. Aren't they just the best?
Cute.
Oh,
Cute.
Foxes are just the best, aren't they? Absolutely stunning.
So thank you for sending in all those.
Thank you, Rog, and everyone else there.
Yeah.
Lucy, Paul, Stuart, Steve, and Andrew, and of course the Mid-Sussex Community Garden group there as well.
But send your photos in to us using #BackToNature, because we'd
Yeah.
like to see what you're up to.
And I would recommend that when you get in the bath, you take your phone and you skim through #BackToNature, which is what I did this evening. There's all sorts of things there.
Yeah, it's really good, actually. It's really exciting.
Okay. We thought we'd
anyway,
read something from the book.
Yeah,
here it is.
just to give you an idea of
What's in it?
what we ramble on about.
There's quite a lot of words in it.
There's quite a few
Questions,
words.
are they in the right order?
Well, let's hope so, because it's a bit late now.
Right, you go first.
So I'll just say what it's about briefly. The book is essentially a hand guide of how we can all go about putting nature back together again. And it starts off quite localized, what we can do in our gardens, what we can do in our communities, and then the concepts broaden out. So we start talking about introduction schemes, rewilding schemes, a bit about activism and politics as well, but it's all hopefully practical things, practical solutions that everyone can do and everyone can help with, and it's all about generating discussion. So it's not about, we don't all have to agree on the same concepts and where things should go, but it's about generating different thoughts and trying to kind of gear our way back to nature again. And it's, for me, I did lots of still science thesis. Chris did a lot of intent. Well, I was going to say intent. You go off on your little rants and your rampages. So I tried to break that up with some science snippets, because whilst we know that there's issues and we know about the declines and what's going on, I wanted to kind of remind people about why we love it in the first place, why we love nature. And so in amongst all of it is some nice kind of light-hearted bits as well. So I was going to read one of those ones to you.
Okay.
Actually, it's one of my favourite science
go on
bits, this one.
Right, okay.
So practice makes perfect, as they say. This is a phrase we hear a lot as we go through life learning new skills, whether that be walking, drawing, or playing the flute in preparation for an audition at the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. Our days are packed full of information, some of which is useful and some of which is not. So when our bodies shut down to go to sleep, our brains go into overdrive, replaying the day's events, filtering out which memories and new skills are worth hanging on to. The dreams we have essentially help with memory consolidation. But dreaming isn't solely limited to humans, and evidence of dreams can be observed in many different species, from cats to cuttlefish. Of course, it depends on your definition of dreaming, but scientists are able to measure brain activity in animals as they sleep, and find that in many species, similarly to us, they will have rapid eye movement REM cycles. This is the point of sleep where vivid dreams generally occur. For the last 20 years or so, we have known that sleeping birds have neurons firing around their brains in a complex pattern, similar to that observed when they are awake and singing. This suggested that birds are able to subconsciously practice and fine-tune their songs whilst asleep, a skill that is particularly useful for young birds, who develop their singing abilities by listening to, remembering, and mimicking that of a parent or related individual. It's simply fascinating that they replay these songs in their minds as they dream to improve their skills. But what further investigation has revealed is that zebra finches also flex their vocal muscles whilst asleep, as if they were actually singing. The results suggested that birds could be practicing variations of their song, which helps them to fine-tune their notes to make sure their song is perfectly composed. The vocal muscle activity was so strong that if enough airflow was present, they'd actually be singing whilst they slept.
Right.
What a beautiful thing that is.
That's got to be worth 20 quid for that alone, isn't it? Right, that's surely got to be worth 20 quid for that alone. Birds singing in their sleep.
I know, but they actually, if enough airflow is present, if they were awake and breathing as they would, because the activity in their vocal cords, in their syrinx, they would actually be singing as they slept. I love that.
What about that? I'm glad that I don't sing when I'm sleeping.
No, I'm glad you don't either. It's bad enough with your snoring in the other room.
Right, okay. I'll read a section. I think I'll just read the beginning, actually, because before we get into some of my other more sort of controversial bits. When I say controversial, the meaning of the word controversial is to promote conversation. And that's what we want to do with this book. We want people to think about how they can do things. So there's a lot of celebration in the book, saying things that are really, really good. But there's also a lot of rallying, I suppose, asking people to think a little bit more about what they do and how they can help to make changes. Anyway, right, here we go. It's, oh, that's not, I wasn't going to read that bit at all. Okay, that was all.
You've gone right in
No,
there.
I was going to read this little bit here. Okay, right. I remember with exquisite clarity climbing onto a low wall by my parents' gate when I was 4 and repeatedly reaching into their neighbour's bush to retrieve a multitude of ladybirds, which, with the benefit of hindsight, cruelly and inappropriately I incarcerated in empty matchboxes. I was fascinated by their variety and entranced by their simple beauty. I admired their symmetry, laughed as their little feet tickled my palms, winced when I licked their yellowy bile that blobbed onto my nails, and best of all, I loved them when they wound their way up my fingers, twirled around, twisted and twitched before peeling back their shiny red wing cases, unfolding their sparkling wings and wafting up into the sky until they vanished. I loved ladybirds. I was obsessed with ladybirds. I was addicted to ladybirds. Every morning, as soon as I'd gobbled up my breakfast, I ran to clamber onto that wall. Next came caterpillars, thin ones, fat ones, spiky ones, hairy ones, all trundling over my hands, curling, uncurling, stopping to wave their beaded heads, hooing little pellets onto my palms. Palms that were soon full of tadpoles, cupping minnows and sticklebacks, getting stung by wasps, scratched by beetles, and bitten by water boatmen when I squeezed my hands too tight. And as much as I craved the feel of nature and always wanted to touch it, I also listened to it. The house sparrows chattering on the gutter, the blackbird on the TV aerial, the sounds of those caterpillars munching leaves, the scraping of a violet ground beetle as it spun upside down on the cement path, the clattering of swifts coming to roost in the loft above my bedroom. I tasted it too, licking the creamy ooze that encircled picked dandelion stalks and the frothy gobs of cuckoo spit that dotted that same ladybird bush, and infamously a number of those tadpoles that wriggled in jam jars on my windowsill and then around my tongue. Smells were intoxicating too, some judged bad, others sweet. The bitter twang of the wounded beetle versus the powdery paper scent that I sniffed from beneath the wings of a dead starling I found at a bus stop. I was inextricably drawn to nature. As soon as I could waddle, its magnetic attraction pulled me into its myriad beauty, where I spun, entranced, and ever hungry for more, more, more. I was born a biophile. The love of life was in my blood, or more accurately, in my genes. Because then we go on to a bit of science, which we won't get into now, which shows, of course, that there is a genetical, inbuilt genetical program for us to actually like nature. Yeah.
Well, we're part of it, aren't we? So it does make sense that
we've
got that
to like it.
Innate kind of connection to
it. So it goes on to
explore
just about
harnessing it.
The science of biophilia. Biophilia. There we are.
Yeah, there's lots of science, there's lots of conservation. It's practical solutions, we hope, and it comes out on the 12th of November.
When is that?
It's like next week.
Is it?
I believe it is.
Let's have a little look.
It is next week.
I have no idea what date it is now. It's the 8th. It's 4 days' time.
Oh yeah, so it comes out on Thursday. You can pre-order it.
Okay.
And
there must be a link. Surely there's a link somewhere.
There'll be a link posted in the comments.
In the comments.
Of this video.
If you want more of that sort of stuff, the science of biophilia. If you want to learn that birds actually practice singing in their sleep, if that's the sort of thing that gets you going, then £20, honestly, what a bargain. Okay, SIBC.
Yeah.
We're planning and scheming and gathering material and reaching out to people as we did in the springtime so that we can put some programs together, and we will be back very shortly as soon as we've gathered enough assets to make it worthwhile. Really. Yeah. So that's our plan. We're going to do a few new things.
We're going to do some new stuff. We're going to switch it up. We like switching things up. We like things to continually evolve. And of course, we want to hear your ideas too. So if there's anything you think is missing or should be in it, let us know, because we're quite, reactive, aren't we? We put it together.
Well, we try.
Yeah, we try to be quite reactive. So, let us know. But we will be coming back to you.
Yeah, stay tuned. Sure. We'll let you know as soon as we've got enough assets to be able to do that. In the meantime, yes,
this is lovely.
Birdwatch. Birdwatch magazine is here, look, with a black-browed albatross on the cover. I love the Birdwatch magazine. But the Birders' Choice Awards is run by the magazine in conjunction with the Birders store, and there are a number of categories. And this year, I'm very, very proud to say that the South Isolating Bird Club has been nominated in the Conservation Hero of the Year award. It says Chris Packham and Megs McCubbin, which is pretty embarrassing because Kate Crocker and Fabian Harrison are intricately important in this whole thing. I'm going to write to the Birders, to this Birdwatch magazine and make sure they get everyone's name in here. Credit where credit's due. So basically, yes, we are in. We've been nominated Conservation Hero of the Year. We've got some tough competition, though, I have to say.
We do. We've got Sir David
Attenborough.
We've got Sir Dave. That's going to be tricky, isn't it?
Doesn't come tougher.
That's a tough one.
Doesn't come tougher than Dave, does it really?
No.
Isabella Tree and Charlie Bowl from NEP, the Rewilders, and we write about that in the book as well. There's a whole section about that. And Izzy took a look at the text that we wrote and was happy with that as well. Isabella Tree's in there. District Court Judge Valerie Caproni from the United States, who basically saved the Migratory Bird Act, which the former, he's still there, isn't he?
He's still president.
Still there at the moment, but the soon-to-be former president of the United States, Donald Trump, was trying to weaken. Who else? Laura Sanderson, an environmental activist, highlighted the extent of plastic pollution by swimming 16 miles from the source of the River Glasgow, collecting water samples along the way. Pretty good. But
there's lots of different categories as well. There's Young Conservationists of the Year, which many of our young, activists and conservation friends. We've got Kabir Cool, him. He's absolutely fantastic. Dara McNulty too, brilliant. Yeah. And of course, Indy Green as well. And Maya Rose Craig, and it's good. And Cyril Lyle as well. So there's lots of amazing young people. But you can go on and you can post your vote. There's 7 different categories, and the link should be below. But we're very honoured even to be nominated. It's really lovely. So thank you very much for nominating us.
And of course, one of my favourite categories in the competition is the Guano Award for environmental harm. And litter bugs. As lockdown ended, there was all that litter that was thrown all over the place. HS2, the Whale Project. Boris Johnson is there for putting construction before conservation. The Trump administration. And water companies, because they're discharging raw sewage into Indus rivers more than 200,000 times in 2019.
Tricky, because they're all pretty bad.
And then it's got, rarity of the year. Yeah. Right? Well, it's the black-browed albatross versus basically the bearded vulture. There are others. The Xenos petrel. Yeah. Yellow-billed flycatcher, white-chinned petrel. Yeah. But I mean, frankly, the vultures.
Yes, the vultures.
The vultures got that big of the vultures.
Now, earlier on, we said that we were going to produce a self-isolating bird club calendar. And we're doing well. Fabian has been working really hard on this, and he's put together a really lovely calendar that represents all of your photos that you sent into us and onto the group. It is in the process of being polished off. It's almost ready to go, but we just need to know how many we need to print. So if you would like a copy of the calendar, could you please go to the South Isolating Bird Club Facebook page and like the pinned post about the calendar? That way we'll get an idea of how many people would be interested in buying a 2021 calendar, and the proceeds of which will go to a conservation charity, or it will go to buying some technology so that we can continue SIBC and do some kind of, I don't know, because it's getting into winter, we might need new light so we can do it outdoors or something like that. I don't think we're going to
splash out too much.
No, but it's going to mainly going to go to conservation.
The old laptop,
it does really well.
Still going, isn't it?
But it'll be going to kind of conservation charities.
Well, we can sort all that out. We just need to know how many we're going to do. Yes. I sent Fabian a couple of my Ropey Badger pictures today.
Yeah, I sent him a few draggy bluebells. So a few photos, but
there's only a couple of ours in there. It's mostly contributors. All the photos that were taken in lockdown, so they're not necessarily always, absolutely sensational photographs. But just like the one with the little girl with the gold crest, they're poignant moments about when people connected with nature, and I don't think we're ever going to forget that this spring. So the calendar will keep that fresh in our minds.
So make sure you please like that post, or let us know that you'd like a copy, and we will endeavour to get printing and do a calendar for you guys. So you can see the post there and what it looks like, so make sure you go and find that. Anyway, I think we've rambled on.
There are some packing photos.
There are some brilliant photos.
There are some packing photos.
And Fabian's done a fantastic job of putting it together, so thank you very much, Fabian. You're
Thanks,
work as
Vance.
ever is brilliant.
Okay.
But we've rambled on quite a lot, I think.
I think we've overstayed our welcome by 5 minutes.
We have done. Oh dear, we're bad like that.
Okay.
All right. Well,
I'm going to go and
everyone.
take one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
What are you wearing? You've got your Armstrong top on. You live in that.
Armstrong. It's my homeware.
All right. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
So we'll see you soon with South Ice Light and Boat Club.
Yeah, we'll see you soon. Bye.